Hello, everybody. It's me, Simon Holden, here on another Betting Weekly Live. And will you help me welcome the return of Will White, a man we have not seen for a while, but it's absolutely fantastic to see you. Will, how are you? What have you been up to? And welcome to Betting Weekly Live.
Good day to you, Simon, and good day to all the viewers and listeners out there. Hopefully we get lots of questions today to get the juices flowing in the chat. I'm doing well, thanks. Yeah, a bit of a hiatus from the show. Been traveling around, two young kids to Australia, which was a bit traumatic. And I've actually been sick for the past couple of weeks. So I was supposed to be on the Champions League show a couple of weeks back, but sadly couldn't make it. But yeah, glad to be back. And let's see if we can dig out some good bets for today.
I'm sure we can. Now, folks, I want to see you in there. I've got Duncan Evans, afternoon Duncan, Chris Graham, Byron's there, Villa fans there, all welcoming Will back. But, folks, this is your show. This is your community. I want to see what you think is the best bet today. Now, we are going cup crazy. We have the EFL second leg of the semi-final. Newcastle await the battle. Newcastle are in the final. Newcastle will play the winners of Tottenham and Liverpool. And we're going to start with that. Then we're going to go Copa del Rey. Then we are going to look at the tennis in Dallas. I've got a very quick golf bet I want to throw at you, and you still get time to get on. That's about 40-1. And we're going to tell you all about what's on here tomorrow. The biggest and best Super Bowl preview, and the one that you must not miss. I've also got some exciting news about Instagram, but we are going to start at Anfield with the second leg of the EFL Cup semi. Now, Will, the big money got yesterday semi very badly wrong, and Newcastle await the winners of tonight's tie. Now, Tottenham are 1-0 up from the first leg. And my first question to you, Will, has there ever been an occasion when a team has taken a lead into the second leg of a semi-final and absolutely nobody appears to give them a chance? Because everyone is all over Liverpool here. Can you remember historically? I certainly can't.
I don't know. Did Middlesbrough were 1-0 up, I think, last year's semi against Chelsea, and then similar setup, I think, to this, and got beat 6-0, I think, in the second leg. I think it was last year. Maybe need to fact check me on that. But yeah, it certainly seems to be a very one-sided affair in terms of sentiment. Although the market seemed to think it would be the case last night, and like you said, got it completely wrong. So I don't know. For me, it's hard to see really Tottenham keeping Liverpool out here, and yeah, the market seems to think so. A little bit of money, though, for Spurs on the +2 handicap. It does feel and seem like it's a big handicap, but then Liverpool on a big night like this at Anfield with a decimated Spurs defence, I can see why the market is thinking what it's thinking.
Now, playing devil's advocate, tonight's game in Liverpool's season is important, but I would argue it's not in the top 5 of important games they will play. Now, for Tottenham, this, we were speaking earlier, I believe this is Tottenham's biggest game since the Champions League final. It is an absolutely pivotal game for their season. It might even cost the manager his job. It really is a chance for them to shine. They did look as a team who've refound a bit of spirit and a bit of fight when winning at the weekend. Now, I only give them a glimmer of a chance, but do you factor that in, the sheer importance of the game for Tottenham?
Yes, I do. But I think I would disagree that this is not an important game for Liverpool. I think this is a massively important game for Liverpool, Simon. I think when you put yourself in the shoes of professional athletes, and particularly this Liverpool squad, who have either been lucky or through good training methods and physiotherapy and recovery techniques have managed to avoid a lot of injuries this season. They've largely managed to keep their squad fit. Slot has minimally rotated across all competitions, and I think they have the fitness, and I think they have the health to be able to take this very seriously. And I think when you put yourself in the shoes of professional athletes, trainers, managers, coaches, physios, they're going to be taking this. This is a huge night. We saw that last night for Arsenal at Newcastle. I think it'll be the same for Liverpool tonight. The whispers about their lineup is it's going to be very, very strong. All the big guns starting. The only whisper I've heard in terms of rotation is perhaps McAllister will get a rest for Curtis Jones, and maybe Diaz will miss out for Nunez, but that's not really major rotation. So I think they'll be taking it very seriously. And there are quite a few interesting dynamics in this tie, though.
And of course, Arne Slot, first chance at silverware, as you said to me earlier, Dutch Cup football. It's so vital, and he really will want to get. And no offence to Newcastle, but he would rather play Newcastle than Arsenal in the final, I'm sure. And I think he'll think this is a really, really winnable trophy. Get one in the bank and see where they go for there. And this Liverpool team, now, as you know, well, I'm an Everton fan. It gives me no pleasure at all to witness their destruction of the opposition. But I keep thinking, right, they're going to come a cropper. Bournemouth are the most informed team in the Premier League. And then we get to it and nobody can lay a glove on them. Now, before I come to you for your selections, let's see what the people, I asked for your comments, what you think is going to happen. Let's see. Georgie Belko, Spurs over 2.5 corners at evens. If Liverpool get ahead early, Spurs will need to come out and play. Good point. King Savvy Saver, over 11 corners on the Liverpool v Spurs game at minus 1.8. Duncan Evans thinks Liverpool Spurs could be a goal fest. Interesting. However, King Savvy Saver thinks Liverpool game will be low scoring. So you pays your money, you takes your choice. Elijah said Spurs 2.5 corners is under evens, but still a good bet. Recap 67, Liverpool keeper 3 or more saves at plus 135. You obviously haven't been watching shot shy Spurs lately. Real Cabral 67. And Spurs average 5-point shots on target over the season in all competitions. So interesting on that. And Byron Morrell, best bet today. No, that game isn't being played, Byron. You apologise later on. So we've got a mixed, but then again, I got 2 teams wrong last time. I'm going to forgive you for that. We've got a mixed bag in the comments there. Now, I've only had one bet in this game. I told you earlier, Will, which I will say later. But give us your leans. Where are you thinking we've got some value in this game?
I've got quite a few leans here, Simon.
Excellent.
The first thing I want to mention is Liverpool were restricted to 1.13 expected goals in the first leg. But Spurs had an extra day's rest, and Liverpool were coming off the 2-2 draw with Man United. Liverpool actually have the extra day's rest here. Not that a Sunday to Thursday turnaround is particularly demanding for Spurs. But I think if we look back to their Premier League meeting in December, the 6-3 Liverpool win, Liverpool generated 5.63 XG that day. And I'm pretty sure that's a season high for any team. And I think it's a record for Liverpool in a way, Premier League games. Maybe that's more of the blueprint we're going to see for this game. And if you look at Liverpool's chance creation this season, it's off the charts. They're averaging 2.43 XG generated per 90. And for a bit of context there, Chelsea are the next best in the Premier League, generating 1.99 per 90. So almost half a goal superiority Liverpool have there in XG creation per 90 this season. So they really are juggernauts in that attacking sense, chance creation sense. And on a big night like this at Anfield, against a decimated Spurs backline, you've got to really expect that to continue. I mean, strange things can happen, but onto my bets / leans, there are a few things I quite like. I quite like Ibrahima Konate to have at least one shot. It's not shot on target, that's just shot, and that's plus 134. He averages 0.71 per 90 this season, which is quite good for a defender. Virgil van Dijk averages 0.78, so similar numbers, but he's minus 186 to have a shot. So there's a big price discrepancy there. I think what's likely to happen is Spurs very light at centre-back here. We don't know if Kevin Danso is going to start or whether they'll stick with Gray and Davies. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to have to sit up. They're going to have to set up with their midfield tucked right in, sitting back and looking to hit Liverpool on the counter-attack in transition, and maybe looking to force Liverpool wide. So I can see Liverpool dominating possession, being squeezed wide by the Spurs midfield and defence, and actually generating quite a few corners. And that is the foundation of most of my angles here. So if Liverpool manage to generate corners, it makes Ibrahima Konate more of a threat and more likely to register at least a shot at plus 134. It looks very big. I also like, and I think this is really standout, and it sounds quite square, but Mo Salah, anytime goal scorer, minus 127. Mo Salah's scored in 18 of 24 Premier League game weeks this season, including twice away to Spurs in the previous league meeting. He is a man for a big night. An 18 from 24 certainly does not extrapolate to a minus 127 price. And against this very, very vulnerable Spurs defence, I think it's a bit too big. My third lean is Pape Sarr, the Spurs central midfielder, to be carded at plus 280. He's had 4 yellows in 15 starts this season, which isn't particularly high. But look at who those yellow cards were against. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, and Newcastle. All teams that arguably are better than Spurs and were likely to dominate the games, control possession. He seems to have a propensity to get carded versus the good teams. He actually got carded against City in the EFL Cup too. So I'm imagining a scenario where Spurs are trying to contain, with varying degrees of success, this Liverpool midfield and very high press. And I can see Sarr being late to a challenge and getting carded quite easily at plus 280. And then a cheeky same game parlay to finish things off with what I think are 3 very likely events to occur. Liverpool win, over 2.5 goals, and over 9.5 corners. I saw some viewers were mentioning corners in the comments earlier, and the 9.5 line is an alternative line, but that comes out at plus 102. 88% of Spurs games have had over 9.5 corners. They're averaging 13.25 a game in the Premier League this year, which is the highest. And you've got to think Liverpool will have them penned in. Spurs trying to stay compact, forcing Liverpool wide, resulting in quite a few corners. And then later on, if Liverpool manage to score early or score a couple early, you've got to think Spurs have got to come out of their shells. And maybe then they'll start generating some corners and opportunities for themselves. So we've got Konate to have at least one shot at plus 134. Mo Salah, anytime goal scorer, minus 127. Pape Sarr from Spurs to be carded at plus 280. And then a same game parlay, Liverpool win, over 2.5 goals and over 9.5 corners.
Excellent. Excellent. Right. Just a couple of thoughts. Like I said, I played one correct score here, 2-0 Liverpool, which I thought plus 800 was just a little bit of value. And the other thing, really, it's more of an instinct bet. And I don't know if we can put the graphic back on. This is a huge game for every Tottenham player. That goes without saying. But one who's got a real point to prove, an ex-Everton player, who I don't think I'm breaking any secrets. He's not a great fan of Liverpool Football Club. Is Richarlison. Now, I think he's probably a great bet to get booked. But he raises his game for this type of games. He's often accused of being moody and not putting it all in. But I think he'll be up for tonight. And I just thought that plus 950 or the plus 335, if Tottenham are going to get anything, I think Richarlison has got to have a big game. So just look out for that. And he will be, the problem tonight will be keeping him calm, not getting him motivated. So some Tottenham player is going to have to have the game of their life. And this guy, he does not like Liverpool Football Club and they don't like him. So just keep an eye on Richarlison. That's just a historical bet. Let's quickly go through some more of your thoughts. Paul Laguna, welcome, my friend. Mo Salah to score at any time, minus 130. You're agreeing with the great Will White. Dave Clark agreed with Salah to score parlay. That Liverpool win somehow might be a good shout. Dave Clark against the Spurs' only chances to muck the game up. That's an interesting point, Dave, because, of course, a draw would get Tottenham home and hosed. But, Will, this Tottenham team isn't good enough to play for a draw tonight, is it?
it's not really their style either, right?
Exactly.
They're not really about kind of sitting back and kind of absorbing pressure and looking to, hold out the opposition for 90 minutes. They might have to do that here. They might have to try and do that here. That might be their approach. In fact, I think that probably will be their approach because, frankly, I think their best chance of scoring is actually going to be in transition on the counter-attack. And so, yeah, I'd quite like your Richarlison card angle, actually. I haven't seen what price he is to get booked, but I would rather to be
minus 500.
I'd rather be on him to be carded than to score, because I just don't think Spurs are going to have much. And then if Richarlison does start, I mean, bets avoided if he doesn't start.
You get your money back, yeah.
But if he does start, will he last the full 90? I know he was out injured for quite a while, and if they are still ahead in the aggregate scoreline, they'll probably end up taking him off after putting in a 60, 70-minute shift. So I don't know if I'd want to be on him to score, but to be carded.
Be carded is a safer bet, yeah. But whatever happens, he's going to be a key figure tonight. It could be the pantomime villain, or it might be the hero. He's good enough to be the hero, but he's much more likely to be the pantomime villain, having watched him for many years.
Yeah,
now, Byron Morel, I agree that Spurs don't have the draw DNA. Good point. But what choice do they have? And they did. I said this earlier, that smidgen of belief from the weekend where they did keep a clean sheet, where they did play as a unit.
I mean,
now,
luckily kept a clean sheet.
Well, yeah, the score, it doesn't have any pictures, does it, the scoreline?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be a fantastic game. And the feeling from you guys is this, the bet keeps coming up from so many of you, is the over 2.5 corners, gents. Now, Elijah's asking what we think. Well, I think, Will, you think that's a play, don't you?
I mean...
Oh, sorry, you've gone total corners, haven't you?
Yeah. The Spurs corners line. I mean, obviously, like their line is 2.5 and Liverpool's line is 8.5, I believe. So there's a massive discrepancy between the two. The market is envisaging the type of game I described earlier, where Liverpool completely dominates. I think the Spurs corner line basically comes down to how early Liverpool get their first goal and then second goal. If Liverpool score 2 in the first half and a 2-0 up, 2-1 up and on aggregate, that Spurs overs corners is going to start to look very nice, especially if they can nick 1 or 2 in the first half themselves. Corners, that is. But if it's 0-0 at half-time, 0-0 after 60 minutes and Spurs are still sitting back absorbing pressure, then it doesn't look so good. So I think it's all about game state, really, that Spurs overs corner.
Yeah. Right, Snacks Monster, thank you for that. You've got us the Richarlison to be carded. Now, I don't advise people to take sweets off babies, but this might be the betting version of it. Plus 360 for Richarlison, that terrible temper. And we know he does not like Liverpool Football Club. And also, they will wind him up. Plus 360, that could be one of the bets of the season. Well, if he comes on, of course, it's voided if he doesn't start. I think he'll start tonight.
I think he'll start too,
yeah, I do. Duncan Evans says Spurs won't keep 2 clean sheets in a row. That is a factor. They've not done that many times in the last decade. Recabral, Eliza really like the over 2.5 corners, especially if they need a goal to get back in again. And that is so true. What Will has just been saying, of course, the first 20 minutes of this game could change everything, couldn't it? I mean, let's even presuppose the unlikely scenario that Tottenham score early. Then we've got an incredible set of circumstances. So there we go. Will's given some great leans there. Like I say, I'm on that Richarlison to be carded, that bad-tempered pantomime villain. I also think 2-0 is just a little bit too big at 8-1. But we are not finished with cup football, not by a long stretch, because we are now going to Spain for 2 Copa del Rey quarter-finals. The first, the early kickoff, Sociedad v Osasuna. Then we'll come on to Valencia v Barcelona. And if Valencia get anything out of this, I'll come round and pay you myself. So let's start. Only kidding. Real Sociedad v Inform Osasuna. Now, the betting, Will, is Sociedad minus 132, the tie plus 255, and Osasuna, I've got a sneak for it, plus 400. So what are we thinking this, the first of tonight's quarterfinals?
I'm thinking unders. That's what I'm thinking. The line's ticked in a little bit. I liked the under 2.25 at minus 112. Not sure what it is now. I believe it's probably ticked into closer to minus 120, but this is a kind of derby, isn't it? Really, it's a greater a Basque Country derby. It should be a feisty affair. They played on the weekend. Osasuna won 2-1, but really Real Sociedad had the better of the underlying stats and data. But interestingly, the under-over line was 2 on the weekend. And yes, there were 3 goals scored, so the market's probably adjusted for that. But it's adjusted by a quarter of a goal. And arguably, there's more to play for tonight. So I don't really agree with that ticking up in the goal line. And if you look at Real Sociedad's, I mean, for me, Osasuna are quite a defensive team. The data doesn't really show that this season. But for me, at their core, they're still a defensive-minded team. And Real Sociedad also are, and the data does really reflect that for Real Sociedad. But if you look at Real Sociedad's last 3 matches, La Liga matches, the under-over lines have been that 2, under-over 2 versus Osasuna at the weekend. Game before that, Getafe, under-over 1 3/4. Game before that, Valencia, under-over 1 3/4. Right. It's half a goal higher here. So the market is saying Osasuna are half a goal more attack-minded than the other 3 teams. Well, the other 2 teams, Getafe and Valencia, that I've mentioned. Now, okay, there is a case that Valencia and Getafe are both quite defensive-minded teams, but I still think Osasuna are. There's a lot on the line here. It's a Basque derby of sorts. And, there's a slight question mark about Real Sociedad's lineup as well. They've got a packed fixture list with Europa League knockout tie against Midtjylland to come. And I just think they might lack that cohesion if they do mix up their starting 11, which they have done a lot this season. And I can see this being super cagey in the first half. So yeah, under 2 1/4 at -112 is my quite loose fancy here.
Excellent. Right, we will come on to the second of tonight's quarterfinals. Now, Valencia played Barcelona very recently, Will, and without spoiling it for those who haven't seen the highlights, it didn't go very well for Valencia, who sit second bottom in the table. Now, I said to you earlier, I think this is well down their list of priorities. And though I don't ever advise people to go heavy, particularly away from home, at a price like -300, -305, on this occasion, Will, isn't it a serious consideration that that's a bit of value?
Yeah, I think so. I think actually Carlos Corberán has said as much in his press conference. Obviously not that they're prioritizing the league and that they don't really care about tonight, but he has said that he's looking to utilize the squad. And normally that's the translation for the bench. The bench warmers will be starting here. And if there's any team that I do know better than any, it is Barcelona. And I think there'll be no rotation here from Flick. I mean, minimal. Gavi's not in the squad. He'll probably be replaced by Fermin Lopez. But other than that, maybe we see Ferran Torres start in place of Lewandowski. But, these days, that's not a huge downgrade given the level that Ferran's been playing at. But as you said, how much of a priority is this game for Valencia? I don't think it's high up their priority list at all. I think they expect to win. In fact, they weren't even at the races in the 7-1 battering they had against Barca 2 weeks ago. So for me, I really fancy Barca to get the win. I'm not really convinced about this Valencia team under Corberán. He's won 2 out of 5, but they were against heavily rotated / decimated Real Sociedad and Celta Vigo teams. So a bit of a false kind of appearance of how Valencia are doing under him. But they have scored in their last 7, and Barca have also conceded in 6 of their last 7. So Barca to win and both teams to score at +135 seems like a bet to me. It seems way bigger than it should be. I wouldn't have it much above even money. So yeah, +135 on Barca to get the win and both teams to score, yes. And then if you can find this on Bet Rivers, or I wouldn't ever want to recommend any other books, but there is a market for Fermin Lopez who I mentioned earlier is likely to replace Gavi here. I think he's about even money to have a shot on target or more. And he's averaging a massive 1.30 shots on target per 90 over his Barca career. So keep your eyes open for a line on Bet Rivers for Fermin Lopez to have over 0.5 shots on target. I really fancy that one.
Brilliant. So make a note of these, folks. Now, guys, you are asking in the comments, and I must say, myself and Will would love to talk about Inter Fiorentina tonight that you're asking, but the odds are not there. There is, of course, the game suspension, lots of variables in that. So this game is not being covered. But these games have been covered. And of course, what I should have said is if you want to stream Liverpool v Tottenham, you can on Bet Rivers tonight. So it's going to be a fantastic night. Now, that's the soccer. We are not finished by a long chalk or even a short one, but I want to tell you about Instagram. We are growing this because we win across all platforms, but I want to get more of you on this Instagram, and I'll tell you why. Nigel Seeley is out there in Rotterdam. He's 3 from 3. So just sign up. Now, as somebody said to me the other day at the golf club, I don't want an Instagram account because I don't post pictures. Now, it's important to say you can follow our Instagram content just by opening an account. You don't have to post your holiday snaps or boring pictures of something that you've had to eat. No. You can just get an account and watch all the free content and extra selection. So Nigel's 3 from 3. He's out there in Rotterdam. And also Game Bet Match. I must also compliment Sean and Nigel, and of course Rory. They are 6 from 6 this week. So please look out for Game Bet Match. They are absolute maestros at what they do. And the Instagram, don't worry about posting pictures. Sign up and view our content. Now, we are not going to cover Rotterdam, but I do, having spoke to Nigel, want to pass on some covert intelligence from live at the venue. This, of course, Will, was expected to be a fast indoor court. Nigel says the word on the street is that this court is incredibly slow. And that might mean some angles in the betting to play more like clay court, all court players. He thinks, and has been told by some local people that would know, that it is all about getting Alcaraz to the latter stages of this tournament. So if you are playing in that event, please bear in mind that the word on the street is this is not the fast court that was expected. Now, I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Will, but then we're going to look at a couple of plays that you do have in Dallas. But can it affect bets if you've programmed in yourself to think that a certain type of conditions there, and then you hear the word on the street is that isn't the case?
Yeah, certainly in tennis, court speed and the balls being used are key factors because different styles of play and different players prefer certain conditions: faster, slower, higher bouncing, lower bouncing. There are lots of different ways that the ball can bounce and come to you. Those are key factors. And as professional tennis bettors, the likes of Sean and Nigel will be constantly on the lookout for updated knowledge and information around the playing conditions. I will say my own research into Rotterdam suggested that it's playing faster than Nigel would say. So often conditions are down to interpretation. Nigel is there at the event watching from the front row from the footage I've seen. And so I think he's probably got a much clearer view than I have. So I would rely on Nigel's interpretation of conditions. Mine are purely from watching on TV and some data I've seen around percentage of points won on first serve, average across 12 matches or so. So I would trust Nigel's interpretation there more than my own. I think we're a bit late to get into the Rotterdam betting for today. There are only 2 matches, I believe, left on the card. But what we can talk about, Simon, is Dallas. Yeah, we're not too late for Dallas. I don't think they've even started play there yet.
We are not too late.
We're definitely not. I think first match is going to start shortly, 1 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So we should probably get into that.
Let's get into that now,
Simon, on Dallas.
The only thing I would say is I was very Taylor Fritz, of course, the favourite, but gave an extremely honest, you might think too honest interview after his game, basically saying he didn't feel that he was injured and was really struggling. Now, I wouldn't want to be on him as favourite for the tournament and see that very downbeat interview. Now, I'd be interested to see whether if in his match today there is a move against him. But from the horse's mouth itself, the favourite is carrying an injury, and that would concern me.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be on Fritz at plus 200. I mean, the futures market is dominated by Americans. Americans seem to have a big home court advantage in tennis. It's just I'm not sure if the data backs that up, but it's an opinion I certainly hold. But if you look at the top of the futures market here, you got Fritz plus 200, Shelton 320, Tommy Paul plus 500, and Francis TFO plus 800. All Americans. I think Sean quite likes TFO at plus 1,000 pre-tournament, and I would echo that sentiment. TFO is a very high variance player. He's in the easier side of the draw, and beat Shelton who's also in that easier side of the draw at the Aussie Open. So TFO is currently trading plus 800. I wouldn't put anyone off that. I believe I think he's from Texas. He might even be from Dallas. But Americans do have a phenomenal record at this tournament, albeit the venue has actually changed this year. And court conditions, 70.6% of first serve points won so far, which potentially signifies that the courts are playing quite slow.
And you have two selections for us.
I'd got two selections. I'm a professional soccer bettor, but I used to actually be a professional tennis bettor. So I do have the track record, but with the caveat that I don't follow tennis as closely as I used to. But for the purpose of today's show, I've taken quite a deep dive into today's Dallas card and found a couple of selections that I think are a little bit of value. One I really like, but I've just got a really bad feeling about it. I've got to get that out there because it's betting against a player that every time I seem to bet against this scrappy individual, I seem to lose. And the player I'm going to be betting against is Cameron Norrie, the Brits. And I'm going to be backing the huge serving American Reilly Opelka at minus 132. Opelka has been on fire this season. He's another very high variance player, mainly because he's quite often injured. And he came back at the beginning of this season from a long injury layoff. I think he was out for a couple of years. And he started the season on fire. He got to the final of Brisbane, beating Novak Djokovic along the way, winning 86.7% of his second service points in that match, which is quite incredible against probably the greatest returner of all time. And then in Melbourne, he ran out of gas in a 5-setter against Thomas Machak, who is also, I believe, a top 20 player. So Opelka, if he's fit, should be a lot shorter than minus 132 here. He conceded no break points to Shevchenko in the first round. And for me, Norrie is still not convincing. He was lucky to beat a very jet-lagged Mickelson in the first round. He actually won 4 fewer points in that match and saved 11 out of 14 break points. But for me, when healthy, and that is the real concern here. Is Opelka healthy? Is he ever really healthy? And I think he's as healthy as you can project him to be right now. When he is healthy, he's easily a top 20 player in the world for me. And I actually think the slower conditions is a bit counterintuitive, but I think the slower conditions might help him. His huge groundies, he kind of needs a bit of time to get into position and to be able to hit through them. And I think slower hard courts suit him better than the quicker, lower bouncing ones. And people forget this is a guy who has won a title on clay. He won Houston Clay Court Tournament in 2022. And he also has reached the semi-finals of Rome Masters in 2021. As I said before, I think there's a big home court advantage for US players. I think the market's just kind of underrating Opelka because his world ranking due to injury is 145. And Cameron Norrie is just one scrappy fighter player, and the head-to-head is 2-1 Norrie. So a bit of a concern that the matchup might be in Norrie's favour. He's likely to get a lot of balls back, and Opelka is going to need to hit through him. But I think an 80% fit Opelka really should be winning this, and -132, quite attractive.
Excellent. And the Oscar for best, sorry, Will, I must get this in. The Oscar for best comment of the week goes to Duncan Evans. Fritz has more excuses than Arteta. Marvellous. We salute you, Dunk.
There's definitely an anti-Arsenal vibe to the show today, isn't there?
Well, there usually is. Yeah. So sorry, Will. I needed to get that in. Give us your second selection for Dallas.
Second one's, I'll keep this one short and sweet because really it's just a feeling I have that Matteo Arnaldi versus Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, bit of a mouthful there. But this, for me, this is a 50-50 matchup. As close as 50-50 as you're going to see. And so I feel compelled to take the value in Arnaldi at +120. If anything, I think the slowish conditions will actually suit his game more than Davidovich Fokina. Fokina is another player I really hate betting against because I think he actually is far more talented than his ranking and results suggest. But I just feel like this is a 50-50 match. And so +120 seems like a decent bit of value there.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Will. So 2 to go at in Dallas, and that little bit of intelligence there from Holland. So please check it all out. Game Bet Match, and of course that Instagram exclusive content. Now I'm just going to do some housekeeping, then I must tell you about tomorrow. So we have 2 daily specials today, and like everything, they are Super Bowl related. So this is a Thursday house special at Bet Rivers. The first one is called Down Pat, and it's Patrick Showtime Mahomes to record 1 or more passing touchdowns, 1 or more rushing touchdowns, and the Chiefs to beat the Eagles. And today you can have +600. So 1 or more passing touchdowns, 1 or more rushing touchdowns, and the Chiefs to beat the Eagles +600. And here's one that we had to have explained, being from the UK. A punter to complete a pass in the Super Bowl. Not a punter as somebody has a bet, but actually the old 4th down punter. And that is +1,000 today. So if you're interested in either of them, the down pat or the punter to complete a pass in Super Bowl, +1,000. They are available on the site. They are Thursday's house specials. Now, notable Thursday live streams. You can watch Liverpool v Tottenham. You can watch the tennis in Dallas, and lots more in between. So do get on those streams and play. Now, Liverpool v Tottenham, the money line, 74% of the money and 88% of the tickets is on Liverpool. 83% of the money and 79% of the tickets are on overs. That quite surprised me, Will, that second one. Copa del Rey, Sociedad v Osasuna, the money line, 58% of the money, 76% of the tickets are on Sociedad. And in their over-under market, 67% of the money, 43% of the tickets are on the unders. And there has been a single wager of $400 on over 4.5 total goals at +900. And lastly, the money line on Valencia v Barca. This is not going to be the greatest shot going. 99% of the money and 98% of the tickets are on Valencia. No, they're not. They're on Barcelona. Now, if you can find the 1%, I suggest he goes and sees somebody and asks for some therapy. On the over-under markets, 83% of the money, 85% of the tickets are on overs. And we have had a 7,000 wager on Barca to go through at -500. That seems to be quite a conservative play. And we do have a large wager, $2,000 on Yoshito Nishoka to beat Francis Tiafoe, +165. Interesting. So that's where the money's been going. Now, tomorrow, folks, we have the special of all special Super Bowl previews. We've got Doug, our in-house expert. We've got RJ, and we've got Neil Channing, who will have more prop bets than you can shake a prop bet stick at violently. So this is the place to be tomorrow for the Super Bowl preview. Now, it is, of course, one of the great weeks in sport. And, Will, I'm going to be very unfair, throw a curveball to finish. Give me one wager for that Super Bowl, please.
Well, I'm certainly not one to be listened to when it comes to NFL betting and Super Bowl betting, but I do like to think. My old boss used to say to me, it's better to be a judge of judges than to be a judge yourself. And I think that's particularly applicable to sports betting. Why specialize in becoming a judge of one thing yourself when you can just listen to everybody else and their expertise and figure out who you think makes a good case for something or doesn't. And I was listening to a podcast the other night. I won't name it, but they were making a case for unders in the Super Bowl, and it seemed to make a lot of sense to me. The premise was that there are likely to be long drives with short gains, short yardage, 4 or 5 yards of play, and not many drives, and therefore that would seem to work in favor of the unders. And I like the idea of that. The line I think is 49.5 or maybe 48.5 now. But yeah, I like unders. When it comes to a side, I'm really torn. It seems to be that the sharp kind of data-driven analytics side of the Eagles and the more kind of humanistic, feel-based side seems to be the Chiefs. You know, it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes in games of this magnitude. And how much do you upgrade the Chiefs from the preseason to not preseason, the regular season to postseason? That seems to be the question here. And the market is certainly giving them a big upgrade for that. So, yeah, should be a great watch. Not as good as tomorrow preview show, but I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Thank you to everybody who's commented today. I've got down to as many as I could, but we crammed a lot in today. But please, tomorrow, you've got the guys here. Get ready with your questions. I want no stone unturned. This is going to be the most impressive and important Super Bowl preview anywhere. We've got the best in the business. I'm back. They tried to get with me. You're on about what bosses told you. Mine just said to me, get out and never come back, Will. But enough of my friend. Yeah. So, Will, it's been an absolute pleasure. Great to see you back, my friend. And I hope I see you soon. I see the number 8 shirt behind you. If I know you're upset at not starting tonight, Will, but surely you're a great bet to score if you do come on late.
Well, I'm no Andreas Iniesta. I'll say that, Simon. But yeah, I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for my team tonight. Yeah.
Excellent. So enjoy whatever you're doing. Keep it Bet Rivers. Super Bowl show tomorrow. We're off to, well, get ready for a great night of action at Anfield. And thank you for watching, everybody. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. And please click and subscribe and hit that notification bell because you are not going to want to miss what's coming soon. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Thanks a lot, Will.
Cheers, mate.